protecting the application from hackers. And in this talk, I want to addressing the challenges which are previously discussed about in the panel members, and how the what are the challenges are we used to face from our customers during our security engagement with various type of customer. In this talk, I am majorly going about the basic things which are usually found by the many of the our customers, and how we overcome those challenges. And at the end, I will share my experience how I learn this security stuff by my own during my education, during my undergraduate. And let's gonna talk about. Oh, as I said, I am Sainadh Jamalpur, and I work in Secular 7 company, and which is the startup and cybersecurity company which is based in Pune, and I am the co-member of Garage for Hackers. And you can find my exploits in Exploit DB, and one of my exploit in local privilege escalation from one of open source software is pending. And you can follow me at the rate Sainadh Jamalpur both in LinkedIn, at Twitter, and so on. Everyone here is in open source, and the beauty of the open source is all about sharing is caring. As said in one of the our panel member earlier, he used to share his whatever he has knowledge in security to others. In that way, we used to help ourselves and help and others in the security. The basic principle in the security domain is whatever the vulnerability we found, we used to share the that vulnerability video POC or CVID, and how to step to reproduce that vulnerability with others to help the organization to mitigate themselves from those attacks. This is the very basic, very classic security example of the application. How we gone through this type of mechanism, like when we are giving the login user ID and password. Nowadays we are using to get the OTP based authentication. Before that, we have a basic, very classic security posture of the application is like this. If the admin equals to whatever, don't look at that 1 2 3 4. I am not about talking about the default password. If the password is anything, what application thinks it comparison backend database about, okay, if admin username is valid from the password which is given, okay, he is logged in. But the application knows who is logging. It may be admin, it may be a malicious user, it can be anything. But nowadays, many of the firewalls or intrusion detection systems are coming. When we are entering 2-3 times failed password, then it will be detecting, okay, something suspicious is going on. You can gone through like this. I am just going through the classic example to the advanced. Next. And these are the very recent and most critical vulnerabilities we found in open source applications. The reason why I am putting this open source application is both top 4 are the many of the small scale to medium scale, somewhat large scale organizations are used this framework in their organization, which is very used, and how the hacker is very used to find the vulnerability associated with what are the backend framework which is used by the any of the application. For example, if you go through the abc.com website and install the browser extension such as Webplizer, which extract the information of the backend database name, and what are the JavaScript libraries it used, and what are the backend framework programming language it used, and etc., etc. Depending upon these things, the hacker can easily identify the related exploit, and from the available exploit he can easily adapted get into the backend system. See, but here the major thing we need to consider, the major thing here is, first of all, we are using the WordPress or Joomla or anything. The developer simply, or developer or administrator simply skips the patching of that application, even though it is available, because of so many reasons. For example, they have recycling the patching for particular one day, like they are used to patching their systems in a week or in a month or in a so much like this. Some administrator will skip like a lazy. They are okay, our application is secure, our file will easily detect them, so we don't have any problem that. But see, and our security, we must avoid the hacker word, because security researcher their responsibly disclosure and reporting to the vendor. So you have this type of vulnerability, you have this type of severity of vulnerability. So we cannot talk about the hackers. The hacker is in terms of who is unethically hacked the system without intimating them and stealing the data of their a main aim. Okay, the security research or hacker can easily find the vulnerable applications by using this simple Google Doc. We all know about Google Docs. By simpling one line of query, we can identify the many of the vulnerable versions of the applications. By using that, hacker easily gaining the access to the that application. See, these are all the without don't need any authentication into the application. For example, if you take that first one, the template injection in Jira application is simply found when you have that backend application is enabled, the contact administrator page. Simple, he can go through that page and he can simply append that malicious script, whatever that may be caused the vulnerable to that that page. He can able to easily exploit that application. See, as a one of the panel members said from Intel, input validation is very important here. See, that subject is what the purpose of that subject parameter here is. Whatever the problem you have, you should send a mail to that administrator. But attacker, how it is useful, to exploit, and it is attacker is using that actually that functionality to use gain the unauthorized access into the application. So for every application we need to consider the input validation at any cost, at all parameters, even though that has a low impact, because we don't know what may be a such parameter or some low parameter will lead to a critical vulnerability to high critical vulnerabilities. We don't know. So input validation in the application is very, very important. And the misconfigurations. See, generally many of the from organizations, we use it to develop a very high-end applications, like they are eye-catching application, or from DRAS application which can interact with a binary. For example, DRAS application usually do interact with our binary. When we install the binary, our entire system data will goes to that portal website, which meant we DRAS. When we lost access to our servers, we usually backend our entire data to the backend applications that called as a portal website. If that portal website we have sent all of our data, and he implemented some ex developer is implemented this functionality is very well. but how should he missed the to block misconfiguration of that whatever the backend database they configure the docker.yml files or config.php files are like this. They are publicly exploitable. These are the main case we have found from our security engagement from our customers. They simply ignoring these type of small issues, and they said that oh, okay, this is not possible to how should attacker know, but attacker can brute force the Drupal default files. Nowadays everything is available on net. We can see checklist from GitHub. It has a largest word list which contains PHP application word list and default username, passwords, and many thing is available in the internet. You can see Troy Hunt from one of the Microsoft RVP MVP. He has a I have been found website, and he can where we can check our email whether our email breach is happened recently. So in the internet we can find easily. For example, we can say other leakage. Why I am taking this issue into this conference is many of the security research from our India is thinking when we found very critical vulnerability in our government website, they are really hesitate to reporting to our government websites, because the only one reason is they are ignoring them or they are file a complaint. That may be a possible. That's why they are many of the security research are fun to hack the Pakistan website or something like that, but they don't touch our government website. But if the government have given a very security responsible disclosure policy like other companies or other government websites, then we can secure our website. We cannot give our website to another French security researcher. If you think that how many times he our India, how many times he talk about our Indian government. Did you see in Twitter? You know that Elite Alderson Twitter handle in Twitter. Okay. He used to criticize our Indian and our Indian developers because of these issues. He found one of the JavaScript file which contains default username password, and he published that link also to publicly in Twitter. Immediately our government website is blocked, temporarily shut down that server. This is not a permanent mitigation to our permanent solution. We should know ourselves. We should trust our security researchers from our government, from our country. And one more thing is he also hacked that Namo app and many of the government websites. I am requesting from Open Source India program, our government should implement like this security responsible disclosure policy, so that our data should not be go to the another country peoples. This is the one of the big false belief of the many of the organization. We installed a popular firewalls in our organization. Why we should have our application is already secured. If you think about, I am not talking about the entire application. I am talking about the simple web application. See, many of the researchers from the outside is simply bypassing the XSS type of attacks or something SQL injection attacks, simply bypassing the firewall. The main reason of that is all firewalls are signature based. They don't have anything. Still we are talking about machine learning, AI and something, but those are not implemented right now. And our company from our side is also installed honeypots to train machine learning algorithm how attackers is approaching the application when he found the access to that application. And we can see that most of this is the main reason that most that WannaCry ransomware attacks the many of the organization. See, for this attack, we can say that we have largest employee resources in our company. We should have a knowledge, even small knowledge about cyber security or minimum cyber security best practice from smallest employee of the organization to the largest employee of the organization. Think about that. If one of the lowest employee from receptionist is downloading the attachment which contains the ransomware, if he runs that application, that entire network is affected. Whom should we should blame that? So we should have a best practices or security best practices knowledge from smallest employee to the largest employee of the organization. This is very important. And we all have smart TVs in our systems, in our homes nowadays, and our children is learning the basics of IoT like smart irrigation system. They are presenting the projects in project expose, but we should teach our children about the basics and minimal security possibilities of those small types of application, so that we can build the secure future in our upcoming future, and they can able to propose a new models in a security field. And the final one I recommend is we use it to basically using most of the our tools based on the open source, and we use it Kali Linux for our daily engagement, where we can use Bubsuit and many of the security tools which is available freely in the Kali Linux. You can go through that and download it and see. This OAuth is also a one of the open security web application project, and it has a API pen testing and IoT web application and everything. These organizations have basic principles that we can perform while our security engagement, during our security engagement, and a best checklist from there. These are the most top vulnerabilities nowadays we found on the most of the web application in terms of open source, but also in the commercial web applications also. For example, you can take that injection vulnerability. That is a simple SQL injection that can learn by the children within 10 to 20 minutes if we perfectly explain to them. But this is one of the critical vulnerability in any organization. If you found this vulnerability in any of the bug bounty program, you will be awarded into the $30,000. See how this impact to the organization. It can retrieve the backend database of the application, but not only it is not limited to that. We can execute a remote code execution if the basics commands that administrator is enabled on that. And that broken authentication. This is the very basic basic vulnerability, but why this organization put in A2 is nowadays several application is vulnerable to these type of attacks. Username and passwords are available in the GitHub or manywhere, and we can use it to if the we know the username, and we can easily detect by the passwords by brute forcing attack. Nowadays we cannot see that application is not implementing any captcha mechanism in login page, so that many of the applications still now is vulnerable to brute force attacks. During my BTech second year or third year, I am very interesting about brute force attack, which is learned in the burp suit, that intruder. Okay, this is, and still we are founding that attack. This is the we can say organization is very good at developing the application, but they are not good at following the security of the applications. And we can say sensitive data exposure, uh, like as previously said, sensitive data exposure is another thing. These A1 to A10 is all are the basics thing, and which can lead to a many of the applications. And not only this type of application, we can have also business logic type of bugs in the applications, where if the application is using the IDA type vulnerabilities, we can execute their user control bypass mechanism to access the admin data with the user, normal user. These are the many of the vulnerabilities we use it to found if these type of vulnerabilities our firewalls are not detectable. And I have concluded with a few topics that, first I want to share a few things about you all. I learned this security stuff from very end college graduate. And during that I used to follow some of the open source who is teach these things ethically. Do not try this mechanism unethically. There are many sites are available to learn hacking. You can follow. Hacking is not about secret. Yeah, if you are very good at finding googling, you can find many resources in the Google. If you go through portsfigure, you there you have a many of the lab access. You can practice manually by yourself. And there is a daemon vulnerable application, DVWA. And if you want to practice think client application, if you want to practice IoT, many things, if you want to practice Android pen testing, there are many things available in the internet. If you are good enough in the searching in the Google, you will find the best things by your own. Thank you very much.